Okay, what's the question?
How are you? Oh my goodness. I want to know.
I answered that first.
You said what?
I told you I was good.
No. I'm not just gonna like accept that as the answer. I'm gonna need some details. How was your week last week? How was your weekend?
You know, on the weekend, the big event was I did the video with Black Magic 363 on YouTube, and was able to answer a lot of questions and put a lot of information out on there. I think the hardest thing for people at this point to understand is creation is fluid. It's happening in real time. Tomorrow not here yet. In order for tomorrow to get here, we got to manifest tomorrow.
Exactly.
It's a collective manifestation. That's why we all know we're going to wake up tomorrow, because we creating that shit in real time. Right? And some of the creators can see it in wave form, so they see a flat earth. And some of the creators see it in particle form, so they see a round earth. They don't make now one of them right or wrong, it just make them have a different view.
Okay.
They had a different level of creativity in their psyche. Right? So it's like you can't expect a high school or junior high school basketball player to compete with LeBron James right now. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
Right? But if you give him the time and you help him to develop, he'll be able to play in the league with the best of the best. Right? So the creator's learning how to create. You have to see it in every phase.
Right.
Right? So at your level, you might not be able to see over the infinite plane of the mind, because that's where the infinite plane is. In order to see past the infinite plane, you have to see through the slits. Right? And when you see through the slits, you see in the particle, and the particle is solidified creation. This is when we have a round earth, because we're dealing with particles now. We're no longer dealing with waves. And then you got some that can see it in the middle. It's a wavicle. Right? So if, like they say, if we on an infinite plane, what's holding it up?
Right.
Right? But the only way it can be infinite if it's the product of the mind. The mind don't have a limit. So you can't put a limit on what the mind can perceive. Right? But soon as somebody put a limit on it, that's an agreed upon manifestation of that part of creation.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Like the concept of heaven.
Yeah, that's Earth is heaven when we get the imposters out.
The imposters.
It has to happen that way though. Right? Because we got to be able to see the deceiver when the deceiver coming, and then we got to be able to show you how they was giving out the deception. And then once you can see it, it doesn't work for them no more. They can't trick nobody no more. They game exposed now.
That's how they are right now. Like you were saying earlier about the finances and stuff and everything crashing. Yeah, people figured it out. So once it got figured out, there's no use for it anymore.
Right. So once it runs its course is over.
Right.
Yeah. So before the invasion, women didn't have to wear no clothes if they didn't want to. They wasn't getting raped. What they call today primitive cultures. The women don't have to wear no clothes. They ain't getting raped unless it's somebody from outside of their community.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the difference. That's what we're trying to get back to the beginning, back to the haven called Earth instead of the hell called Earth.
It's like, okay, when you say it like that, that kind of reminds me of what they call it, the 3D, 5D split. I just say the dimensions merging at the same time. It's them separating themselves. So it's like you have the hell version of heaven and the heaven version of heaven. Would you say that all correlates?
So what happens is this: the 3D world, we want it to be here so we can experience finding our balance. The part we didn't want in the 3D world was the upsetting of the balance by the imposters. They came in and threw a monkey wrench in the good working program.
Right.
Because with that, they enslaved everybody. Right? Now, we at the part where they got to find somewhere to be because they can't stay here. And we go back to as it was in the beginning. And it's the close of the age, so shall it be in the end. So in order to close out the age, you got to take it back to the beginning, back to its purest nature.
Mm. Mm. That makes a lot of sense. And I guess that's like one of the reasons why, like, the way that things are working now with the mix of generations, I'm seeing it's really a mix of things. It'll be like generation X and Y, they're onto certain things because they understand, oh, flip flop. This is what we did in the Matrix. This is how we're doing it when we're more spiritual and in tune. Versus it's like generation Z, and then I'm seeing like the babies and stuff, generation Alpha. It's more like this
I'm
is
glad you
just the
brought
way
up.
that this goes.
I'm glad you brought up Generation Z.
Hey.
Right, because Generation Z, when you go through the alphabet, what's the last letter?
Z. According to this alphabet.
Look, in the Greek alphabet, it's Omicron. Omicron is the small o for the omega. Omega. Remember, from alpha to omega. That means from beginning to end.
Okay. Yep.
From A to O. But in English, it's not A to O, it's A to Z.
Mm-hmm.
And now we on Generation Z. Well, what would make them call this Generation Z?
It's the last one. That's it.
The
Well,
gig is up.
Okay. It's like it's wrapping up their series of generations that they had. Then the fact that they made the next one Alpha, then the one after Alpha is gonna be Omega. I don't think they have a name for the one that's supposed to be after that, but it is what it is. I'm Gen Z. My son's Generation Alpha. His child, well, depending on how things go, because whatever. But the next kids, they will be Generation Omega.
Because now they're going backwards. They're going backwards with the alphabet. They exhausted the English alphabet. Now they have to go backwards to the Greek. Because the English alphabet is derived from the Greek alphabet. Right? So when we say alphabet, we say alpha, beta. That's two Greek letters.
Right.
Right? So it's called the alpha beta system. The alpha beta system is from alpha to omega in Greek, but it's from A to Z in English. Right? So that the way that they deceive us is with vowels, the interchanging of vowels in translation. And that's how they can use a term like more as a all-inclusive term for varying different groups of people. And we have to identify the ones that's us, the good more. it was. And that's the fear of the old system. But it got to go down. The old system has to fall for the new system to rise.
Right.
Mm-hmm. They said they fucking with the live. Doesn't surprise
Oh
me.
yeah, it was cracking up. It was. I heard that last good sentence 100% clearly. Before that, it was choppy.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna let you drop down, Ellie. I'm gonna take another caller before I go.
All right then. Peace and
Thank you
unity
for
to
coming
you.
on.
I love you
I love
for
you too.
sure.
How you doing, brother?
What's going on with you? What's your name? Where you calling from?
Oh, discernment. Call me Dub, but I'm up here in Tacoma, Washington.
For sure. Far West.
Yeah. But you hit home on something earlier. You made me think, and when the other guy was on talking to you, and he said connect with your tribe, and I had never thought about that as far as the area I was born in, and so I just remember the name Cahokia was always was it always was a name or that stood out to me as a youngster, and and so I'm like, what can you tell me on that? Because I'm like, I know you that you.
That word is properly pronounced Hayoka. The Hayoka is the priest. For that to be tapping on your door, that would mean that you come from the priest line.
Are you breaking up there? They don't want me to hear this, Rob.
Did you hear any of what I said?
They ain't want me to hear none of that, Rob. I already know how they do. It was like it's and I knew that before you even pulled me up, because it was a surprise that you pulled me up, and I was like, oh, okay, see, that's just Big Mama talking, because my cat came to the door, and then next thing I know I was on with you, and I was like, hey, Big Mama, because I was like, I need to get out there and get some sunlight, So
yeah,
I already know.
I was telling you that word is properly pronounced as Hayoka. And the Hayoka is our way. Those were our high priests. They didn't live in the village with the rest of the people. They lived out. They called him the medicine man. And because he gets so much energy reads, he can't stay in close proximity to a lot of people. Am I describing you?
Hey, you hitting home, cause so I had this and it come to me in a dream, and I ended up making it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, copper aunt.
So you really touching me right now.
Yeah, your energy. I can see your energy causing your electronics to malfunction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you walk barefoot on the dirt?
Yes. Hey, that's one of my things. So my OG, my mom, she ascended on November 1st, right? So I went back to Wisconsin, where everybody is, and they're like, you just gonna walk around here like that with the slides on? And cause I like to wear slides, so I can, if I see some grass, some dirt, some rocks or something, I could ground for a little bit. I'm gonna do it. So you walk around like that all the time, and it's like it's about to snow, and I'm like, well, whatever Big Mama going through, I have to go through too. So, hey, it is what it is,
Hey, so then that also activates stuff in your DNA. you know. So yeah, so it's a natural. You a natural. So study all of the spirit information you can get your hands on, especially Vadum.
And how and say the pronunciation again for me. Uh, uh, Ahokia.
Say hi yoka. I seen pictures of Martin sitting in Elijah's living room having a conversation. Who your cousin, sweetie? So Martin discovered that he was being used or misused. There's nothing wrong with being used. It's when you misuse that it's a problem. People always talking about, she used me. No, not used. Misuse. Because if you used for what you worth in your own proper context, that's a good thing. When you misuse, that means taking advantage of and putting the position out of context, that's a bad thing. So understand, oh yeah, Vernon Johns was the truth. And he was actually my mama cousin. He was my mama cousin too. Well, it was Becky, my cousin too. But they was related on her father's side, the Johns. My mother's last name was Johns all the way up until she married my father. Right. So that gave me a special interest in his case. Matter of fact, for those who want to know who he is, James Earl Jones played him in the movie about Vernon John. But I knew about him before I seen the movie. But I seen the movie years after it was made too. But I had learned about him studying Martin. I wanted to know what happened to the guy that preceded him. We just disappeared. They kicked him out of the church because he was too militant. So then he started. We might be, sweetie. We traced back to Louisiana, right? The Johns. My grandfather, Hezekiah from he from Macomb, Mississippi. That was his territory, and they divided his land up. Get out of here, Beulah. That was Aunt B. That was my mama's stepmother. So apparently we cousins on our motherfucker. So you gonna have to inbox me so we can put this shit all the way together. Cause Miss B was Aunt Betty's mother. Yep. So anyway, I'm gonna go back into this. So once we get into the 70s, Panthers moving now, right? This is when they start infiltrating what we call gangs. We was tribing up in the late 50s. My mother was what you call a outlaw vice lord biker on the west side of Chicago. This was before you had all of these spinoff groups. So they instituted a cultural thing that we do. It's called a razzle dazzle or a flea flicker in football. It's the same thing. Everybody got the ball. We in the huddle. Now scatter. We don't know who got the ball, but one of these niggas got the ball. So my mama sent cousins and sisters to California. She kept some in Chicago. She sent some stayed in Mississippi and Louisiana. Then she ended up moving to Michigan with my father. So this was to keep her sons out of the fray in the fight for power. Because there is no fight for power when we hear. We know where the power goes. We just gonna put it in the right place. If you make something work the way it's supposed to work, it'll last longer and work better than if you use it for something it wasn't meant for. You say your whole family from Macomb? Shit, there's a good chance we related. So there's a tribe of Mississippians called Shoshone. Too Short is tied to that tribe, and the tribal chief actually was my first girlfriend's father, named Sonny Shaw. He was the chief, but he was here. Anyway, the Shaw clan is Shoshone, indigenous Americans. And the Washington family is the Washita. It's the same name changed to fit the English language. So if your last name is Washington, you're a Washita who is named after George Washington for conquering the Washita or Wichita. Wichita, Kansas was a stronghold, right? So now we starting to get to the Hall of Records. Now we starting to get to the Halls of Records. Once we get to the Hall of Records, they can't, that's it. So the records is kept. It's just, are we wise enough to get the records back? Leonard mean lion. My uncle named Leonard too, by the way. Oh, the Sparks, yeah. So we got the Sparks up here. Sister Sparks and Brother Sparks. They got officers as they offspring up here in Pontiac. So the Sparks family come from down there. They Brother Sparks was a dog man. He was teaching me some dog stuff. Okay, so you want to know how to get the records. First of all, you got to know where the records at. The records is in the mountain. And the records is not just records, they're what you call your trust documents. And this is where our money at. You have to be agreed to publicly declare ownership of the records as a tribal grid on the land. You have to have what you call historical works to verify your position. Dane Calloway, Malachi York have those indigenous works where they can say, I'm the grid on the land, and this is where our records is in just outside of Kansas City, Kansas. Right? So I talked about it on a Zoom call the other day. But what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to try to figure out how to post clips from it so y'all know exactly where the records is to the trust. When you get the records to the trust, is the records to the money.